Every year, millions of people land in Bali with the same vision in their heads: rice terraces, temple gates, a smoothie bowl the size of a small planet, and some kind of spiritual awakening they'll definitely post about. And then reality shows up. Not because Bali is bad, Bali is extraordinary, but because most people visit the wrong version of it. They follow the same route, trust the same lists, make the same avoidable mistakes, and then come home thinking they saw Bali when they mostly saw the traffic between tourist spots. This video is about fixing that. We're going through the biggest mistakes tourists make in Bali, not to scare you off, but to make sure that when you go, you actually experience the place and not just the postcard version of it. Let's start with the one that ruins more trips than anything else. Most people who visit Bali stay in Kuta or Seminyak because that's where the hotels are cheap, the restaurants are familiar, and the beach is right there. Convenient? Absolutely. A good base for experiencing Bali? Not really. Kuta is loud, crowded, and built almost entirely around the kind of tourism that has nothing to do with why Bali is special. Seminyak is prettier and more polished, but it's essentially a very well-designed bubble. You can spend 5 days there, eat beautifully, get a massage every afternoon, and leave having seen almost nothing that makes this island worth a 14-hour flight. The mistake isn't going to those areas. The mistake is staying only there. Ubud, Canggu, Sidemen, Aimed, Mundak. These are the places where Bali starts to make sense, where the landscape opens up, where the culture is still present in daily life, where you stop feeling like a consumer and start feeling like a guest. Even 1 or 2 nights outside the south of the island changes the entire experience. If you're planning your accommodation right now, look at the map before you look at the price. Where you sleep in Bali is not just a logistical decision. It's an editorial one. Here's something nobody tells you before the first trip. Bali is not one place. It's about a dozen different moods stacked on top of each other, and most tourists only see 2 of them. There's the beach Bali, surf, sunsets, beach clubs. There's the spiritual Bali, temples, ceremonies, offerings on every corner. There's the jungle Bali, rice terraces, waterfalls, morning mist over volcanoes. There's the artistic Bali, Ubud's galleries, traditional dance, silver workshops, and Saluk. And then there's the quiet Bali, the north, the east, the parts that don't show up on the first page of any travel blog. Most itineraries spend 6 days in one mood and call it done. The fix is simple, but it requires planning. Build your trip around contrast. 1 or 2 nights somewhere high and green, 1 or 2 nights near the coast. At least 1 full day with no agenda beyond walking somewhere you've never heard of. Bali rewards curiosity more than efficiency. The tourists who leave obsessed are almost always the ones who didn't stick to the plan. Let's talk about timing, because this is where a lot of well-intentioned trips go sideways. Bali has 2 seasons. The dry season runs roughly from April to October. The wet season covers the rest. Most people book for July or August because that's when they have vacation, the skies are blue, and every travel site confirms it's the best time to go. Here's what those sites don't mention. July and August are also when every other person with the same vacation schedule shows up. Uluwatu is packed. The sacred monkey forest is packed. That famous Tagalalang rice terrace photo everyone has? You'll be waiting in a queue for it. The shoulder months, April, May, early June, and September, give you most of the dry season weather with a fraction of the crowd. Prices drop. Locals breathe. You actually get to stand somewhere beautiful without 40 strangers in your peripheral vision. And the wet season, despite its reputation, is not the catastrophe people imagine. Rain usually comes in concentrated afternoon bursts, not all-day downpours. Mornings are often clear and golden. The landscape is incredibly green. Waterfalls are at full power. Temples are quiet. If you go in January or February and you're not there for surfing, you might actually prefer it. The best time to visit Bali depends entirely on what you want from it. Which brings us to the mistake most people make before they even book the flight. They don't ask that question. What do you actually want from this trip? It sounds obvious, but most people book Bali based on a feeling, a photo, a friend's recommendation, a general sense that it's supposed to be incredible, without ever deciding what kind of trip they want to have. Bali can be a party island. It can be a wellness retreat. It can be a cultural immersion. It can be a surfing trip. It can be a honeymoon. It can be a solo journey where you sit in a cafe in Ubud for 4 days and read. It does all of these things well, but it does them in different parts of the island, at different paces, with very different itineraries. If you want surf, you're spending time in Canggu, Uluwatu, or Medupi. If you want culture, you're based in Ubud. If you want quiet and landscape, you're going north to Munduk or east to Sidemen. If you want nightlife and beach clubs, South Bali is your answer. Mixing all of them into 1 week without a clear priority is how you end up exhausted, behind schedule, and stuck in 3 hours of Balinese traffic wondering why you didn't just go to Lisbon. Decide what you want first, then build the trip around that. Everything gets easier. Now let's talk about money, because Bali has a reputation as a cheap destination that confuses people in some very expensive ways. Yes, Bali can be affordable. A good warung meal costs almost nothing. Local transport is cheap if you know how to use it. Accommodation ranges from genuinely budget to absurdly luxurious. But the Bali that shows up on Instagram, the infinity pools, the raw food restaurants, the sound healing sessions, the private villa with the jungle view, that Bali is not cheap. And a lot of tourists arrive expecting budget Southeast Asia and unconsciously book a premium lifestyle itinerary. The mistake isn't spending money. The mistake is not knowing you're spending it. A decent villa in Canggu during high season costs more than a hotel in Lisbon. A full-day private driver, which you will almost certainly need because Bali's public transport is essentially non-existent, runs between $40 and $70. Add a couple of wellness activities, a sunset dinner at a cliff bar, 1 cooking class, and a day trip to a temple complex, and you're looking at a trip that costs significantly more than the affordable Bali promise suggested. Budget honestly. If you can afford the premium version, great. It's genuinely worth it. If you're on a tighter budget, that's also completely doable, but it requires different choices. Warungs over wellness restaurants, scooters over private drivers, guest houses over villas. Both are valid. The problem is mixing the two mindsets and being surprised by the bill. Speaking of getting around, this is one of the most underestimated parts of any Bali trip, and it breaks more itineraries than bad weather ever could. Bali has traffic. Serious, structural, not going anywhere traffic. The main roads connecting the south of the island to Ubud can take 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Driving from Seminyak to Uluwatu during rush hour is an exercise in patience most people did not sign up for. The tourists who handle this best are the ones who plan their geography before their activities. They don't book a morning temple visit in the north and an afternoon beach club in the south, and assume they'll manage. They cluster activities by zone, leave earlier than feels necessary, and accept that Bali moves at its own pace. The other thing worth knowing, a scooter changes everything if you're comfortable on one. Traffic that would take a car 40 minutes takes a scooter 15. The roads in Ubud and the surrounding villages are genuinely beautiful on 2 wheels. But if you haven't ridden one before, Bali's roads are not the place to learn. The combination of unfamiliar traffic patterns, potholes, and the occasional ceremonial procession blocking the road requires some prior experience. Rent carefully or hire a driver. Both are good options. Overconfidence on a scooter is not. There's one more mistake that's less logistical and more about the kind of traveler you are or want to be. Bali is a deeply spiritual place, not in a vague, decorative sense, in a daily, functional, embedded in every corner of life sense. The offerings you see everywhere, the small woven trays with flowers and incense, are placed there multiple times a day as part of a living religious practice. The temples are not Instagram sets. The ceremonies that occasionally block roads and fill town squares are not tourist attractions. They are the actual fabric of Balinese life. A lot of tourists treat all of this as backdrop. They step over offerings to get a better angle. They walk into temple areas without the sarong that's required and then act surprised when they're asked to leave. They photograph ceremonies from 5 feet away without acknowledging the people in them. This is the mistake that costs the least to avoid and somehow remains the most common. Carry a sarong. Read 2 paragraphs about temple etiquette before you visit one. Ask before you photograph. Step around the offerings, not through them. Say thank you to the people who explain things to you. Bali is extraordinarily welcoming to visitors. That welcome is not unconditional. It's an invitation, and like any invitation, it comes with a basic expectation that you'll show up with some respect for where you are. The tourists who honor that are the ones Bali gives its best to. And Bali's best, as it turns out, is pretty hard to beat. So here's the summary, not as a checklist, but as a way of thinking about the trip. Don't anchor yourself in the south and call it done. Understand that Bali is multiple places, and choose which version you're actually there for. Time your visit around what you want, not just when it's convenient. Budget for the real trip, not the imagined one. Plan your geography before your activities, because traffic is a co-author of your itinerary whether you invite it or not. And arrive with enough curiosity and respect to let the place actually reach you. Most people leave Bali saying they want to go back. The ones who followed some version of this leave knowing exactly why. Now, if you're starting to think seriously about when to go, the next video breaks down every season in detail, including the 1 month most travel guides completely ignore. That one's worth watching before you book anything. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, smash that like button and subscribe to When to Travel. We're all about helping you make smarter travel decisions. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And hey, if you think your friends need this, share it. Comment below with your next destination or your biggest travel question. I'm reading all of them. Let's go.